thank you for joining us. First of all, we appreciate it. I think everybody on here appreciates it, and anybody who couldn't make it today is going to appreciate all the content and all the information we get from you today. It's been a long time coming, and we truly appreciate it, like I said. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to start with a little bit about yourself, maybe some information, some of your background on the breed.
Okay.
I think we all kind of.
First of all, thank you so much for the invite and for everything you do for the Xolo community. I really hope I can join one of your meets soon, hopefully. Now, as for my background, I'm being involved in the breed for like 19 years now. I started just as a pet owner. I had a beautiful puppy. Unfortunately, I got her from a puppy mill. So she died when she was like 5 months. And it was difficult because not many vets knew about the breed. I struggled a lot finding someone who knew what was going on with her. And in the end, she just died. So after that, I decided that I wanted to learn about the breed and just share information so other family could avoid going through what we went through with Mia. Her name was Mia. And eventually I found dog shows and I got really into dog shows. Now I've been showing and I do breed, but not that much. And I'm mostly involved in the toy size or miniature. We call it in Mexico, we call it miniature size, but in the US is a toy size. I do research mostly on the genetic of colors and health. And I think my main thing is just sharing information. I just want to share what I've learned, not only directed to breeders or just showing to that part of the Xolo world. I think it's very little. I think the Xolo community goes beyond showing, goes beyond breeding. So that's what I want to do, and that's why I created my Instagram account to just share, spread information about everything, care, breeding, health. That health is so important, and a lot of people just think it's an extra, and it's not. Even for pets, it's important. So that's just my thing. That's what I'm in the breed to do.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. You say this about there was no information, and like we look at the history and we say, well, this breed has been around for how long? And and that's kind of what drove me to do kind of what I'm doing, right? Like I'm like, this breed is so like it's so old, and there's so much history to it, but yet there's not enough resources. And when you do find information, it's kind of scattered everywhere. It's hard to find, I guess, everything in one place. And I've seen on Instagram how big it's gotten, and it's crazy. It's good, and we all kind of have the same. To this day, I feel like we all have the same questions, the same regards of like certain topics of the breed, but there's still not that one single place we can go to. This is your one stop.
And I always say this: the breed might be super old, but if we think about selection and just research on the breed, it hasn't been around for that long. I mean, it was brought back from extinction in the early 90s, and that's not long ago. So compared to other breeds, like for example, Dobermans, you see Dobermans here and in other countries, and they look the same. And in Mexico, shows don't look the same than in the US than in other countries because we don't have that selection yet. We're working on that. We're working to accept more. For example, the coded, they were accepted in 2007. That was not so long ago.
Yeah.
So the breed is old, yes, but the information is not. So we need to keep working on that, keep researching. I promote DNA tests. Sometimes it can be a little bit expensive, even if it's a pet. I think it goes around $90 or so, but that will give us more information on health and colors. And then if we share more information with breeders and with owners, eventually we will have a better knowledge on the breed overall.
Yeah. And do you think that as a ethical breeder, DNA testing is important? Would you say that's something that you would?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, it's important because it gives you extra information. Um, it will tell you not only if your dog is healthy, but also what colors it carries, because this is a big issue. When we register a dog, we can see in the pedigree it says black, and then maybe the dog in reality it has another color. And I personally feel it's important to say the color of the dog as it is, because I've seen merle dogs, which is not allowed in the Xolo, registered as black, causing double merles. And those puppies were blind or deaf. So it's important to do that. And it's also important for health. However, when it comes to breeding, DNA test is not considered a health test because it's just an extra. The mandatory is checking hips, checking knees, checking eyes, and heart. So it is important that if you look for a breeder, make sure you ask at least for knees if it's intermediate and miniature, or in the US, toy and miniature, and for hips if it's a standard. If a breeder says they are ethical and they don't have that, I would question that, because that's the most important test for the breed.
Yeah.
Health, I mean, DNA test is just extra.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Uh, what kind of issues do you think would you say that those are the most common issues you find in those sizes? Or would you look at anything else besides what you mentioned? Or have you
Um,
seen any more issues?
for,
Uh-huh.
for Xolos, I think the skin is the biggest issue. I've seen a lot of Xolos with allergies, and that is also genetic.
Yeah,
So
that's what,
it's important.
yeah, I've been actually seeing that a lot more often now, where I see people, because I mean, I understand there's a certain level of acne that they're gonna have, right, throughout
Mhm.
childhood, I guess, or teen years, or the first year and a half. But I've been seeing more people say, hey, you know what, my dog is allergic to this and this, and I'm just like, that's pretty. I was like, I'm not sure if maybe it's because I'm meeting more people now, and I'm seeing more dogs that I don't know if it's like a common issue or if it's something like you said, it's something genetic. But I've been seeing it more often.
In allergies, there are two things. It can be genetic, and it's also the dog food. Many brands have wheat or corn, and those are allergens. So it's also important to check what you're feeding the dog. I believe that the food is the main thing, and if you give your Xolo poor food, or like poor quality food, sorry, the skin will not be as good, and they can have allergies, they can have other issues. So that's one thing. And the other one is genetic. So there's two things that we have to consider, and not many people see it that way. Some people just have a dog, they love the dog, they know they have allergies, and they still breed because they want a puppy so badly. So we have to be responsible in that. I mean, what you're bringing into the breed.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of us, I guess we're in a point in this Sholo community, or just the breed. It's at a point where it's so popular, it's so demanding that it's so easy to get money. It's so easy to make money off of the dog, right? Like, and a lot of us aren't educated on it, and we don't. I mean, I would say at least do some research, right? Do something to kind of back up why you're breeding, or I guess there's a lot to it. There's a lot to discuss, and that's something I think it's been a hot topic recently. And I mean, hopefully, you can kind of give us a little breakdown on what kind of stuff we should look out for in breeders. What kind of questions we can ask. Because just this last meet, we had a few people just show up to meet the dogs, and they were like, "Hey, do you know any ethical breeders, or like, do you know any breeders?" And you know, we kind of want to guide in the proper direction. We don't.
Mhm.
I've seen a handful of breeders on Instagram, but
Yeah.
I, I would love to eventually get to interview certain breeders and see what they're really about, and see if they're really about preserving the breed and holding a standard to a certain level. So maybe you can help us out and kind of give us some guidance on that.
For breeders in the US, I would personally go to the Xolos Queensly Club of America. They do have a list of breeders that are members of their club. And those breeders show they do health testing. And you can also talk with other breeders and just get to know them. The thing is that it's difficult to get a puppy from a breeder. I mean, they will ask you a lot of things. They might have a waiting list or not, and a lot of people don't want to wait. They want fast and cheap, and that's when the puppy mills or the backyard breeders and even the retailers come. I mean, if a breeder tells you, you know what, I'm not gonna have puppies until maybe next year. My waiting list is this, and I might need a deposit or whatever. And then a backyard breeder comes and tell you, hey, just give me $500 for a puppy, and you have it next month or next weekend. A lot of people will say this is faster. So I think the main issue is people don't want to wait and they don't want to do the research, because if they go to the club, they will find a big list of breeders and they can even ask for like health tests or pictures of the puppies, have their questions resolved, because a lot of people think the Xolo is for them, and they end up realizing that Xolos are not all cute and like Dante.
Yeah, that's true.
They are difficult, but people don't know that. They think they're just Labradors that will say hi to everybody, and they don't realize that Xolos needs a lot of work, a lot of socialization. So I think that's one of the biggest issues. People want things fast and without researching.
Yeah.
But for instance, going back to the main question, going to the club will help a lot.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's kind of I think when I first got to breed it, one of the things was people, people would obviously at the time still people were uh it was still gaining popularity, right? People would always message me, and I almost felt like I was discouraging people because I was like, like I don't know if you want to do this, I don't know if you want to do this, or like, the breed is like, like I think a lot of us know that it's kind of it's a skittish breed, right? Like, and
Yeah.
socialization big thing. Like, I didn't realize that until like, after a few months of having Picasso. Like, the first time we went to the dog park, it was not the greatest experience,
Yeah.
and I think and like most people, I feel after the first initial, like, if they had a similar experience like me, they tend to just back off and be like, maybe my dog is not for other dogs, and instead of saying no, I'm a step by step socializing the dog, a lot of people just back off completely of the idea, and just
Yeah.
stop the socialization, and it just becomes a bigger issue in the future because as we started as
Yeah.
the uh
No, I was just gonna say that you're right. I mean, a lot of people think they're just an easy breed, and then they end up thinking that's normal. So, and that's not normal. I mean, you have to work the dog, and there's so many people that have contacted me saying, "Hey, my dog is aggressive, but that's part of the breed." I'm like, "No, it's not part of the breed."
yeah.
So I think lack of information also harms this part. Like people just think or assume this is how shows are.
Yeah, and going back to that, I know I had a conversation with one of my close friends regarding breeders and how the dogs obviously grow up as from being from born to the time they reach their forever home, right? Do you think that breeders play a big part on how this dog will be from that time they reach their house to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because the puppy needs to stay with the mom, and I see a lot of people placing puppies so young, and that's not right. They need to stay with the mom. They learn a lot of behaviors, good and bad, from the mothers, and they also need socialization. They need to be in a household and just learning that. And the breeder usually sends a puppy with some socialization already, and over 2.5, almost 3 months old. If a breeder is selling you a puppy that's 1 month, um, that would not be a good idea, especially not for a primitive breed like the Xolo.
Yeah.
They need a lot of work. And if a breeder is not willing to do the work, those first 3 months are very important. I don't think that's an ethical breeder.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I think even here in the states, it's illegal. It might be illegal in some states to rehome the dog, or to send the dog off if it's not I believe 12 weeks. Yeah, 3 months. So they need at least 12 months of being with the mother before they can be
And they still do it because I've seen people like from different states, like I can name a few, like California, Texas mostly, that they are selling puppies very young. They are also buying from another backyard breeders from Mexico and importing them at a very young age, which is also not a good idea.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think especially I guess in Mexico, it's obviously there was a there was a comment a few maybe like a week ago, someone saying that it just had to do with obviously the breed is from Mexico, but I think we still have to hold everybody accountable, whether you breed in Mexico, the U.S., the
Exactly.
I think there's a breed standard, and we all need to kind of look at that if we're going to be breeding, right? Um, so at the time, the question was something regarding people going to Mexico to get this dog and reselling them here in the U.S. And I think what she was referring to was that obviously the dog is from Mexico. The breed is a Mexican breed. Um,
Mhm.
and it was a lot easier to get a dog in Mexico, even it probably still is now than it is in the U.S. And I think that's technically what she was getting to. Like people are going to Mexico, paying a small amount of money, and then coming to the States and selling these dogs. And you know, I think the standard, whatever it is, should be held no matter where you are. Whether the dog is from Mexico, or the U.S., it doesn't matter. There should be a standard we all.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's a big issue. I mean, here in Mexico, you can still find them at a semi-wild state, so to say it. I mean, I found some in Puerto Vallarta that I live like 5 hours from Puerto Vallarta, and we've seen them like that, just randomly appearing out of nowhere. We've had rescues like that were abandoned, so it's easy to find them here, and they can also be found cheap. Like I've seen Xolos for $10, but that's the thing. They might not be like pure Xolos. They can be. I mean, I can cross my Xolo with any other breed that has a similar type, and I can sell the hairless for whatever amount of money and just say they're Xolos. And I've seen that happen. There was this guy that bred to a German Shepherd, and he actually said to me, the coated are shepherds and the hairless are Xolos. I'm like, that's not how it works, honey. So that's an issue. And I know it's not only here. I mean, it happens in the States. I've seen in the States people breeding to other breeds as well. I think the most important thing is what you're supporting. Do you want to support and preserve the breed? Then, even if it's harder, just go do it the right way. Or if you want to buy cheap, then do the right way. Don't overbreed. Don't go to people who abuse the dog, because overbreeding is also kind of abuse.
Yeah,
So let's try to do things right, even if it's a pet or whatever your plans are. Just do things right for the animal, not for you, because a lot of people are in this for money. And I mean, whatever, everybody knows what they do with their dogs, but try to do things right for the animal and for the breed also.
yeah, that's definitely. I think we could all kind of learn something from that.
Mhm.
We wanted to get some questions in from some of the people on here, or our time's up. But let's see what kind of questions we got over here. We have them right here. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if we pull it up. Oh, here we go, chat. Let's do it. All right, let's see what we can. Someone asked how you can register a Xolo Squinkle. I'm not too sure if.
Um, in the US, it's not possible to register if the dog does not have like FCI or AKC pedigree. You need a puppy from registered parents to register the dog. In Mexico, we can register dogs. We have something that's called initial registry. So you take the dog to FCM, which is the Mexican Kennel Club. They check the dog. They make sure the type resembles to a Xolo, because a lot of people just say, "Oh, it's hairless, it's a Xolo," but no. Xolos can also be coated, and the mixes can also be hairless. So type is what makes a Xolo look like a Xolo. It's what makes a Xolo different from a Doberman or from a poodle. So they are gonna check the type of your dog, and say this is a Xolo and give it a initial registration. A lot of people think it's just for showing, but not. If your dog is missing or something, in Mexico and I think in the States as well, a dog is not like it's not like it's not considered like a human being or something. It's considered a thing in Mexico. So if you have that, it's like having the papers of your car. If your dog gets missing, that paper will confirm that you are the owner. In the States, it works kind of the same with a microchip. It helps. So I personally recommend having a puppy at least microchipped.
Okay, cool.
That's the only way you can do it. If you're in Mexico, in the States, you cannot have initial registration.
Yeah. Okay. I think that answered show me the Xolos question. Let's see what else we got over here. One person asked, would you say socialization is impossible when the dog is close to a year old already? Or
Not impossible, but it will be difficult.
yeah. When do you think there's a certain age that, or a really important age for the dog to, where this kind of plays would be the more important time of the dog's life to take initiative and socialize the most?
From 3 months up to 8 months, that I think those months are key. And it's important that they have stimulation and it's positive. I mean, if they meet a lot of people, but you're pushing the dog to interact, it's not going to be positive. So it's also important to do that, like socialize in a positive way with animals and with people. It's okay.
Let's see. Okay, another question.
There you go.
Mm. Someone asked, would Xolos do respond well in obedience training?
Yes, if done in a positive way. I mean, Xolos are primitive. They have a primitive mindset. They are aloof. They do not trust people easily. So if you start training and the trainer is just like pushing the dog, just like pulling the leash a lot, that's not gonna be a good idea. The Xolo will not like it. So try to make it positive for the dog. And at first, just short periods of time if it's a puppy. There are trainers that are known for training primitive breeds. So I would personally look for someone that has experience with a primitive breed for a Xolo, or someone that does a lot of positive reinforcement.
Okay, cool. Ooh, let's see what other questions. Do you have this is one of my questions. Do you have any recommended breeders that you work with, or anyone do you recommend, any maybe vets, anyone that some of us could reach out to in case we have specific questions regarding specific topics on the breed, or that you work with, or are qualified in the space?
Actually, in the States, there are a lot of people that work hard to promote and serve the breed. In Texas, David Gonzalez, he's Mexican and he has beautiful standards. He owns one of my miniatures and he has a lot of knowledge and he's also open to mentoring and guiding. There's other people like Amber. She has intermediates and she's also very knowledgeable. I can give a list of contacts just to share because there are a lot of people in the States that you can contact for guidance, mentoring, or even if you're willing to, or not willing, looking to buy a puppy from an ethical breeder.
Yeah, we definitely love some of that information. I'm sure a lot of us can use it, especially right now. Like I said, with so many of us looking for dogs, or considering it, we can use the guidance from people with experience in the field. And like you said, we go back to sometimes we need someone to kind of give us that reassurance if the dog is not for us or if the breed is for us, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times we want the dog, but like you said, it's not for everybody. And sometimes we need that extra mind to give us that either yes or no.
Yeah, and it's important to go to someone ethical because if someone wants to sell, they will convince you the Xolo is a perfect breed for everybody. And someone who is in the breed for the love of the breed will tell you, you know what, I will not sell to you because you're not fit for the breed. This is not the breed for you. So that's the difference between someone ethical who wants to preserve the breed and someone who just wants to sell. So, and they look similar because anybody can have a logo and a nice Instagram page. So it's difficult to know the difference. So if you have questions, just go to someone that's in the breed for the love of it, not for selling. And they will tell you, yes, this breeder is okay, or no, this breeder I would stay away from him or her. So I think it's a good idea to just like I mentioned before, go to the Kennel Club or to the Xolo Club of America, or just try to look for breeders who are known for wanting to preserve the breed.
Cool. And then I will get one more question in. Uh, Someone's asking about skincare. Is there any other skincare tips or things that you feel have worked besides food? See, what can we do to keep Sling healthy? Oh, I'm assuming the Sling is his dog, but
Um, the skin is a mix of things. It's age, genetics, and food. So those three things are the most important for a Xolo. Also, the skin type is different. Some Xolos have like really rough, difficult skin, and others have smooth skin. The breed standard calls for smooth skin because that one will not be prone to acne. And if you think about the breed being in the wild for a long time, a skin that's bumpy and difficult to maintain will not protect the animal. And a skin that's healthy will not give the animal issues in the wild. So it's also important to make sure that in their genetic, we only breed dogs that are like they have nice skin.
yeah,
Now, as for age, puppies will have horrible acne. Not always, but sometimes they are prone to acne. So if your puppy or your Xolo is around 5 or 9 months, you might struggle a little bit, but nothing that some exfoliating will resolve. Just you can try oatmeal or honey with sugar. Just try to do it gently. Don't scrub that hard. Keep them clean and don't use a lot of lotion. A lot of people just say, I put lotion on my shoulder every day. Just don't do that. They don't need that much.
yeah,
They used to be in the wild. Just use lotion when they're dry. And that's it. Don't fuzz a lot because a lot of people just go buy sunblocks and lotions and a lot of things, and shows don't need that much. So when you use a lot of products, you can cause acne. So that's also a thing. And the food is important. If you cannot buy top quality food because it can happen, sometimes it's a little bit expensive, you can just add omegas to the food. It's a good investment, just a spoon of that, and it will help a lot the skin because the natural oils of the body will help the skin to stay smooth. So those three are the main things that we look for when we're looking at the skin.
yeah. That's good. Yeah, actually, one thing I have noticed is that I've been seeing a lot of people say, "Hey, I only do this kind of diet for my dog because it's the best diet." But, from experience, at least for my two dogs, I feed them kibble, but it's worked out for me. Like I haven't had any issues with it. Uh, I do feed them. I switched over to sea moss, and it carries omega 3s, omega 6, I believe, and
Mhm.
it. I haven't had any issues. I don't see a reason to switch. I know some people do raw, and some people do. There's all kinds of diets, right? And I guess
Yeah,
the biggest issue is now is that people are they're saying, this is what you need to do. They're telling other people in the community like this is it. This is the diet you need. But I think we forget
yes,
dogs are the same. They're like humans. What works for you might not work for me, and so I
exactly.
tell people, it might be a trial and error. I don't know. I haven't experienced. too many changes in food. I it was literally the first pick, and it worked out. So
Mhm.
it's hard for me to speak on the topic, but maybe you can kind of give us a quick, what kind of food you recommend, or what kind of.
Um, I do recommend food that does not contain corn as a main ingredient because I've seen so many shows with allergies, and also it's not that good for them. I mean, the dog is a carnivore, so it's important that at least one of the first five ingredients is meat. Now, this is what I recommend. However, each Xolo is different, and each family is different. I feed mine raw, but I also feed them kibble because sometimes I'm going to be super busy, or maybe I just forgot to take the meat out of the freezer. And I also have some old Xolos that they don't like raw. So it depends on like what you can afford, when you have time to, because a lot of people have time to make food, like make the raw diet, and others they have time just to put kibble in the bowl. So whatever works for you and your Xolo is the best food. Now, if you can supplement omegas, I just recommend them all the time because the skin on my shows is beautiful. It's because of the omegas. And they eat raw and they eat kibble. So I don't think one is like the Xolo food.
Yeah.
It's what works for you and your dog.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming, and I just wanted to get some reassurance on that because
Mhm.
yeah, I've been seeing some of that, and even even skincare, they're like, oh, you need a Nivea. I'm like, damn, that's I know a lot of people in Tijuana use Nivea, or like, I'm just like, damn, I didn't even put that on myself when I hated that stuff as a kid, but they say that it works for them. I'm like, okay, cool, and like, I use very basic stuff on my dogs, and I feel, Mona, like you were speaking earlier, about the skin. Mona is very rough. Her skin is very rough. Um,
Mhm.
Deanna over here said, like her dogs too, and Picasso is on the other side is super smooth. He's just, and I think it has to do with the breeder and what where the,
Mhm.
but it's just one of those things. And one more question before I ask. Someone asked, what is the typical personality for a Xolos queen? What do you say?
About their personality, um, they are aloof. That's the thing. The breed thing is aloofness, and I don't know if I like it or not. I like it because I feel so special because my dogs love me and they don't like anybody else. But at the same time, it's very difficult when I have to show because they don't like the judges right away. When they're like at least 1 year, they are like, "Who are you? Why do you want to touch me?" So it takes a while for them to open up. So that can be difficult because you have to work a lot on the dog, and it can be frustrating because you have taken the dog out like every day since 3 months, and they still don't like people. So that's the main thing. Of course, there are some cholos that are like social butterflies, but it depends. It depends on the dog. But as a breed characteristic, aloofness is number one.
Yeah, and you know what? One thing I don't know. Maybe it's just me, or it could be that you think from each size they vary, because I feel like the toys seem very more social. Like it's easy to socialize with them compared to like the more standard.
Yes, but the toys can also be a pain. They bark so much, so much. They're so loud compared to the standards. Like, I don't know why I have so many toys. That sometimes when they start barking, I kind of regret having toys. But that's the difference with them. They can be nervous. They can be super loud. And the standards, on the other hand, if you don't work them a lot, they can get aggressive.
Yeah, yeah,
So they both have their thing. I mean, if a toy you don't work him or her, they can end up being super shy and nervous. But with a standard, they end up being aggressive. So that's the main difference,
yeah.
and the noise.
Okay, and then we'll wrap it up right here. But I wanted to ask you. what what kind of things do you have going on? Do you have any big projects going on within the community, or plan for the future in the community that we can look forward to?
I have so many plans, but there's so many that, like they say in Mexico, like el que mucho abarca, poco aprieta. That happens a lot. I have so many things going on that I haven't finished them all.
Yeah.
I'm working in a project about colors.
Mhm.
That's going to be interesting because a lot of breeders share their DNA tests, so I can describe the colors, showing hairless and coated as examples. So that's one. That's I think that's my favorite project, and health. And I think that's pretty much it. I was working on the Illustrator Breed Center, but I think I'm gonna just wait a little bit before I finish that one. And I'm also working on being a judge. I'm going to try to get my license for judging FCI, and we'll see what happens. I would love to judge a specialty one day. See all the Xolos will be super fun.
Yeah. No,
And I think that's pretty much it.
definitely.
Xoloholic here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, we're definitely excited for the color, the breed color, because I I feel like there's not much information out there regarding that, and I think it would be really cool to see some more like in-depth information on that. Um, and yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and it's a very interesting topic, to be honest. You can see the skin as one color, but then you check the DNA test and the dog looks totally different. Like for years, I thought my Romina was bronze, and it turns out she's black. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I posted a story maybe like a few months ago, and you described a few of the colors, and it was crazy. It was what I thought was one color was actually another, and I was just like, oh, so this
it's
information.
very interesting.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And coming in, I was like, oh, there's only a few colors, and there's actually a variety of stuff, and some of us
Yeah.
might think we have this, but it might be a whole completely different thing. Yeah, but
Yeah.
well, Giovanna, we appreciate you coming on and joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we're definitely looking forward
Thank
to having
you.
you here in the States for one of our meets. And I think we could do something cool with that. Maybe have a little Q&A here in person, and yeah, we have
Yeah, that would be super fun.
yeah
Your famous meat.
they're getting there. They're getting there. This last week was pretty was really cool, and I think having you out here, having a live maybe a live Q&A would be definitely interesting for everybody.
Yeah,
But,
sure, anytime.
yeah, but yeah, Giovanna, we'll definitely have you back on, and we'll probably discuss
Okay.
more topics. And like I said, we appreciate you, and we'll be sending you some merch with Jay soon. So